So 2024 is coming to an end, and as is tradition, I am making a wrap-up video. Now, this one's going to be a little less structured because I realized people don't really just want to recap like everything that happened in terms of me showing you stuff. I mean, maybe some of you do, but these videos don't really get like great views, but I like making them because I just like reflecting on the year. You guys might have noticed not my content quality in terms of the way I speak, because I'm still doing the same thing. Like I'm, planning and editing kind of the same. I'm recording a lot more videos on my webcam because I don't know about everyone else. I'm just so burnt out this year, and I'm not burnt out from working because I know, I got a very privileged job. I do YouTube full time. What I'm burnt out from is just politics and the news. I feel like 2024 in particular has just been so insane. Like I was thinking about the other week, we had that Luigi Mangione stuff. We had Al-Assad being toppled, which is something that like we thought would never happen, thanks to all those memes. And we had like South Korea nearly going full fascist again. That was happened in like 3 days. And then of course we had like two elections in the English speaking world. We had the US and the UK one. Donald Trump, someone tried to kill him, and then we just forgot about it within like 2 days, and then he became president. Like when I think about stuff that happened like in January, I'm like, that feels like 10 years ago. And I know maybe a lot of people think this is like how you always feel, but it's not how it always was. Like as someone who's been following politics for a long, long time, it didn't always feel like there was so much stuff. The year just kept dragging on and on. So today, I just wanted to talk about like a variety of stuff. Some of it might just be random social media stuff. Some of it might be more heavy political stuff. I want to talk about myself personally. I love talking about myself, but I don't really talk about like personal achievements. I'll save that for the end because I know, as much as you think as a YouTuber, people subscribe and watch your videos for you. That's really not the case. People subscribe for what you talk about, not for you and your personal life and what you're interested in as a person. Sad to say, but that is the truth. So I'm going to save that right for the end. If anyone cares, you can listen to that. But I guess the big topic of the year, let's talk about the big thing, which is just insane. Like I've had that sign up for like a year, 15 months maybe, from the first protest I went to. The fact Israel is still doing whatever it wants to do with Netanyahu in charge as well, I just can't believe it. And I guess that's the big story in 2024. Rules-based international order is just a joke. And the whole international community, or let's say the Western-led international community, allowing what's happening in Gaza to keep going, despite us knowing this is like the worst genocide of the 21st century by far. We still have people who are in offshoots of this community online, in the left-wing space, who deny this, who go to Israel and interview some of those fanatical Zionist fascists in Israel, pal around with them, and everyone is still normalising what's happening. Not only that, it's not only got worse for Gaza this year, Israel also invaded southern Lebanon, and Israel has also invaded parts of Syria as well, expanding its Golan Heights settlements and attacking Damascus, despite the fact that Assad is gone. So they're attacking like Assad after, they're attacking Syria after Assad is gone as well. And no one has anything to say. And in the UK, we had a new government just as fanatically pro-Israel as the rest of them. And even though the ICC has put out arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant, loads of European countries saying, what if Netanyahu comes here? We won't arrest him. They're all signed up to the ICC. America isn't, of course, and Israel isn't. But at the same time, countries that would arrest Putin for going there are now saying, oh, if Netanyahu comes here, now that's cool. And what I hope people realise is that for a lot of Westerners, and I'm going to include Israel in this, people don't care about the political differences. Like, as long as they all hate Muslims, and you're seeing that more and more. Like, think about the elections we just had in Europe. I don't remember all of them because it's just been such a crazy year. But every European election is like, who hates Muslims the most? And that is, transitioning from the Israel stuff. The two elections in the US and the UK were the Israel elections. And in the UK, and this is my criticism for the US left, I'm going to talk about it. The UK, thankfully, we had some sort of movement to be like, we reject this. Like, I am not voting for Labour. I did not vote for Labour. most left-wing people did not vote for Labour unless you had like an actual socialist MP, which is, you know, that's fine in my opinion. They shouldn't be in the Labour Party. They should start their own party, but that's whatever. But thankfully, for the first time, we had the highest number of independent MPs elected into Parliament, and that was around the issue of Gaza. Jeremy Corbyn eviscerated his Labour Party opponent in his local election. Keir Starmer got less votes, nearly half the amount of votes he got in 2019, in his own seat, because Andrew Feinstein, who was a anti-apartheid campaigner in South Africa, he ran against him. And it looks like Keir Starmer, if left-wing groups coordinate better, or just anti-Labour groups, they could overthrow him at the next election. They could have done it this time, because there was more votes against Labour than there were for Labour. In Keir Starmer, who's the Prime Minister's own seat. That never happens, by the way. Rishi Sunak still got a big majority in his own seat. Most of the old Tories who still ran from the government did pretty well, because they're popular locally. Keir Starmer is so unpopular locally, and then he's just been an absolutely terrible, terrible Prime Minister, like us on the left all said he would be. He has basically just been the Tories carried on. The success he's talking about is like, oh yeah, we're crushing immigrants, and we're banning puberty blockers for trans teens and stuff. Amazing. Talking about, you know, they're not going to renationalise water in this country, just use the public taxpayer money to pay off all this debt, and these companies that just pay their shareholders so much money. That's where we're at in the UK, this stage of neoliberalism. What was I going to say? They have a chance right now to really change this country for the better. And the main thing is crush the far-right surge that is happening in this country. We had those huge attacks on Muslim communities in England. We had, obviously, Reform doing really well in the election, Britain's far-right party, and their support keeps growing and growing. How are we going to stop that support that is driven by austerity primarily, and people's economic desperation, which is being diverted by fascists in the media and a fascist political party? Well, making people's lives better would be a start. Not going to happen in the UK. So watch the UK's next election where actual fascists win, because that's going to happen with the ineptitude of the current Labour government. But thankfully, yes, we did put out some sort of united left-wing front against Labour and against the Tories, and left-wing groups, the Green Party, we're growing. But of course, the UK does not have proportional representation, so it's going to be an uphill battle, but I'm happy something is being done. Apparently, Jeremy Corbyn is thinking about starting his own party. This should have been done 5 years ago. I'm very frustrated about this. And talking about that, let's move on to the American election, which, again, was another Israel election. Kamala Harris handedly beaten by Donald Trump in their, again, not proportional system, where she actually lost the popular vote as well. So it wasn't even like Hillary Clinton, where she won the popular vote. Harris lost it all because she ran a terrible campaign. She was part of a terrible administration. And yes, she did lose Michigan because of Gaza, but that didn't really matter at the end of the day. She lost pretty much everywhere. Because, yeah, unpopular government, you're not promising people to change their lives, talking about how you're not even different from Joe Biden, who is literally one of the most unpopular presidents ever. It was always going to be a recipe for disaster. And what was annoying as a British person looking at the American system, I've said for a long time, especially after Donald Trump won the first time, you can't keep rewarding the Democrats by voting for their candidates and just falling in line. Why do Americans not try and get concessions? And you had that uncommitted movement, right? Which were running this vote campaign in the primaries to show how many people were upset about Gaza, only for them to be paid off by the Harris campaign, turn around and endorse her. Because it's useless. And if you keep endorsing your enemies, what are they going to do? If Harris won, is she going to be sympathetic to the left? No. Keir Starmer won. Obviously, lots of left-wing people voted for Labour as well. And then he's only purging the left even more. You don't reward people just because they're anti-conservative when they're actively hostile to the left. And Bernie Sanders should have ran third party in 2016 and 2020. But this is what annoys me most about Americans. We have it here in Britain as well. There is no thought for the future. Yeah, it sucks to lose an election. Yeah, it sucks. But Americans are always every single election, this is the most important election. And someone made a good tweet. He's you just can't keep relying on fascists not to get voted in. You can't keep saying we must vote for the Democrats no matter what because the alternative is worse. You actually have to organise and create a different movement that can appeal to people. And this is why it frustrates me so much of Corbyn and Bernie, very historically popular left-wing figures, could use that electoral capital to start a new movement that maybe in the future would bear fruit, but they're too conditioned by the system. Like Corbyn's a bit better, but even Bernie, it's like Trump can't win, I must endorse Joe Biden, I must endorse Harris, I must not run third party, even though I run third party or run independent in my own Senate seat. And it's just a complete failure of the left in these countries to not realise that their enemy is capital and capitalism. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they represent this, continually shaming other leftists to vote for these people no matter what they do, including doing a genocide in Gaza, right, is not a winning strategy. And I don't blame any person in the US who did not vote for Kamala Harris. And you can say, oh, you know, well, that's just as good as a vote for Donald Trump. Elections, you have to win elections by appealing to people, right? Not appealing to, you know, appealing to no one and promising nothing but Liz Cheney. You're not going to win. And people keep arguing with me in my comments, but she did have an agenda. She did promise things. I don't care, because they were all just incrementalism. Yeah, she promised things. Oh, I'll help people buy a house for the first time. Great. Is that going to motivate loads of people to vote for you who don't vote for you already, right? Because more working class people and more people who are poor are voting for Donald Trump because he used the language of change again, where the Democrats got more votes from the wealthiest. Because they're saying, oh yeah, we'll help you wealthy people, we won't help the working class. My assessment, I don't think it's going to happen. Left-wing people need to stop voting for centre-right parties who maybe used to be more left-wing, like Democrats and Labour, and start their own movements, and think of the future. Think of the future. Reform is brand new. Reform is brand new, and they're like polling first in some polls. And yeah, they have that legacy of, like, you know, Nigel Farage running with the Brexit Party and UKIP. But there we have one political figure who is very popular, also very hated, who has made a movement which could win power. What is stopping Bernie Sanders or Jeremy Corbyn from doing something similar? Like, I don't even care people talking about, oh my God, like, you know, the two-party system. Yeah, we have something similar in the UK as well. Not the same, but you have to do something and use this energy you have from having successful political campaigns like Farage has done with his successful Brexit campaign, and change it into something that gets results. I'm not talking like a crazy person here. It's just people don't want to accept this very fact that if Nigel Farage can do this in the UK, Jeremy Corbyn could have done it, and he should have done it 5 years ago when he got kicked out of the Labour Party, or 4 years ago when he got kicked out of the Labour Party. And it's just increasingly frustrating that at the time we need left-wing people in power to actually do stuff, or left-wing people with power, they just keep getting behind the status quo. Yeah, fair enough, Corbyn, you ran against Labour, but where's the broader goal here? And again, Bernie is a letdown because he should have done something in 2016 and not been so, like, basically loyal to the Democrats who want to stab him in the back at every opportunity, and have done. So those are the big political things, obviously, for, you know, my American audience, my UK audience, but I just wanted to reflect more on that. So there's lots of stuff I can talk about. I got a list here. You know, we had obviously the healthcare CEO stuff. I spoke about that a lot recently. I'll probably speak about that again before you've even watched this video, because it's going to go out just before New Year's Eve. Now let's maybe transition to, like, internet stuff. Obviously we had, like, you know, all that Ethan Klein Hassan drama. I've spoken about that enough, and something I have spoken about enough as well, something that felt like personally validating and was a big moment for me in the year, was Mr. Beast's downfall. Because obviously I've been calling out this guy for years and years and years, and I got so much hate for it. And then finally he gets exposed by this dog pack video, and then at the same time gets exposed for treating workers on this Amazon show like absolute garbage, and the whole internet turns against him. But that felt validating in the moment, because obviously I made that video showing that I'd been calling him out for years, and I pretty much was the first YouTuber to do that. I'm not joking, by the way. When I say that, I know I like to meme about me hating Mr. Beast. I pretty much was the first ever YouTuber to make a video actually outlining significant criticisms of Mr. Beast, despite massive hate against me. But one thing I'll say is, it doesn't feel as validating, because when everyone, and you see this a lot online, everyone was jumping on this hate mob. All the people who used to come in my videos, and fans of people like who used to make videos defending him, they all turned against Mr. Beast, because they're vultures and they're just capitalizing on the drama for money. They don't actually give a shit about what this guy did, right? And you can see it now. People don't care anymore. Mr. Beast is going on podcasts. Mr. Beast is going back on other shows, on other YouTube channels that have criticized him, because they just want the attention and want the views his name brings, and there's no consistent moral framework they're working with where they hate Mr. Beast for doing a bad thing. They hate Mr. Beast because it's profitable to hate Mr. Beast, and when it was profitable to like Mr. Beast, that's what they did, because most YouTubers only care about money and only care about clicks, right? most YouTubers do not do this because they love making videos or they want to say something. They do it for attention. And there is that balancing act of, making money, getting attention for your videos, but then that's what we start to call grifting, when you start taking positions not based on any morality or your own personal views, based purely on what will get you the most money. And that's what many people did, Mr. Beast. So many people I've had so many problems with for years who've defended every little thing this guy has done, making multiple videos, getting millions of views, talking about how bad he is now. Like, yeah, pretty infuriating. And it also shows why he can come back, because they're only motivated by the attention in that moment. Now it's kind of died down. They don't care because it won't draw the same attention. So while that might have been like a highlight of my year, the Mr. Beast downfall, I'm also a bit disappointed with how it's kind of played out. And because like people like Dogpack are so like unreliable, into like weird conspiracy theories, kind of just been dismissed at this point, even though the Amazon worker stuff was never actually addressed. So yeah, that's been annoying. And I guess in terms of other internet stuff, I can't really think of too much, to be honest. That was the big one. But yeah, there's like lots of stuff that's depressed me this year. Gaza is probably the most one. US politics is depressing in its own way. But overall, the year's just been wild. And it's been a weird year to make content as well, like with these elections. And it just feels like we're getting to the point of no return. And it kind of feels like this is the year like we're going to look back on as like fascism properly gripping Europe, because obviously everything that's happening in Gaza, we're being shown that every day and being told that's actually a good thing. And fascists are now weaponizing identity politics. And that's probably the best video I made this year. I called it Woke Fascism, is the weaponization of identity politics to do things like what's happening in Gaza, but also to brutalize Muslim refugees. And I hope what it's revealed to a lot of left-wing people, liberal identity politics is a dead end. And I'm not talking as like a class reductionist. I'm not being like Anna and Cenk at TYT, but I'm talking about how prioritizing identity rather than class and class struggle and class solidarity is just so wrong. And that doesn't mean we should not fight for civil rights of marginalized groups and everything, because we definitely should. But it's just, talking about progress as, well, we all know this as leftists, but, more women police officers, more transgender police officers, more transgender CEOs of arms companies, more gay IDF soldiers, absolutely means fuck all and gives you no moral high ground. And often this is used to do terrible things to societies that might be more conservative for a variety of reasons, right? So I'm hoping it's the death of that kind of politics and for left-wing people to embrace this kind of politics. So that's all like the more serious stuff. Linked to this, before we go into my own personal successes or whatever, I'd say it's a fact. This is my best year for content, by far. Best year for content. I think I nearly got double the amount of views from last year. I think I got like 9 million views last year. I think I got like 15 or maybe 17 million views this year. So insane. I've had multiple videos go past 300,000 views. And I guess fundamentally, this year has stressed me out less because I've got more views on individual videos, so I haven't had to upload as much, which has been nice. Obviously, I could upload as much as I did last year and make more money. I'm not as money driven. I like having that work-life balance. But also, one of my goals this year, and it might not seem like it if you've only subscribed recently, because I'm limping over the finish line of the year. I'm just tired at this point. But I did have a goal at the start of the year to make better videos, and that sounds really like fucking obvious, but no, I watched lots of content creators and thought I can make videos on like these broader topics that aren't just about like politics and reacting to political news. Like, I'm gonna do that still, but I want to do these like big videos about stuff like no one is talking about, and have it as like this video you can go back and watch and it will still be relevant. Like, it's not just me reacting to the news. And I've got a couple here of my favorite ones in terms of politics. I'd say my coffin home video and my vaping video, they're two of my favorites, I think, because the vaping video, if you guys haven't seen it, was talking about the economics of vaping, how bad it is for your health, where these things are made, like in China, looking at the factories, looking at like, why they are uniquely bad compared to cigarettes and like what makes them different from cigarettes. I just really enjoyed that because I don't vape, but it was a fun thing to research because everyone sees vaping. We see it everywhere. Everyone knows someone who vapes. So that was really fun to make. I thought it was like a really good video. I thought I edited it well. I think it was way like better presented than some of my other ones, and it just was an interesting one you could like send to people and be like, did you know loads of this stuff this guy's saying? So I really liked that one. Another one, not that I liked the topic, but I liked talking about it as like and I think I brought a lot of my own good knowledge to this things. I made a video on coffin homes in like Asia, but talking about just like housing in general and relating that to like cyberpunk. I'm trying to think of the book because I was reading the book at the time. Neuromancer. I was relating it to Neuromancer, which has coffin homes, and I really enjoyed that one. Felt like I brought a lot, my unique takes onto it, and I hadn't seen many videos going into a lot of things to do with like housing from a left-wing framework, and that's why I like making these videos is fun, because I'm bringing like my left-wing perspective to it, because a lot of people like react, oh my god, craziest vapes, oh my god, tiniest little apartment, but they have no like left-wing morality or framework to back it up and talk about it in like an interesting way. So I enjoyed those ones. Some other ones are just a bit of fun. The Taylor Swift one, I made a couple with my girlfriend this year, just like hating on Taylor Swift, but like relating it to like consumer capitalism and music. I did enjoy that as well, and they did really well, which was funny, like making videos on Taylor Swift, getting like 150,000 views, I think. And then I made one about the politics of drinking Monster Energy, which was really, really fun. Didn't do like amazing, got like 40k views, but like I just enjoyed that. And I'm going to put all these videos in like a playlist called like Best of 2024. So if you want to go watch any of these, that's where they'll be. So yeah, enjoyed all of that. And I guess as a segue into talking about myself, my probable favorite video I made this year was I made 2 videos on the Dune series. So I made one after part 2 came out, but then I liked part 2 so much, and I liked part 1, but I never watched it again until just before I saw part 2. So I wasn't like obsessed with Dune at this point. I watched part 2. I thought it was so good. Really, really love that movie. And then I started reading the books, and I'm currently on the 6th book. So if you guys don't know, the original Dune books are split into 2 trilogies. One focusing on like Paul Atreides and like that immediate timeline. One set further like thousands of years in the future after the original trilogy. And I'm on Dune Chapter House right now. Read about a quarter of it. And I just really like these books. And what it makes me remember is like these history books I like to read, which have like a massive scope. Like I read one that was between, I think, 1000 AD and 1500 AD, and another one that was like 200 AD to 1100 AD, and like these massive scale books. And why I like Dune is because the scale is so insane. It just makes me think about like my life in the same way like history books do. So I think when I made the video, I'd read 4 of them, and I just talked about the politics of it. What is the message of the Dune books? Like, the first 2 Dune books, like, is Paul Atreides space Hitler? Like, spoiler, no. And that is a take you're seeing everywhere from left-wing people. I want to make a video about left-wing people and media literacy as well, because I think some of these myths need to be debunked, because Dune like isn't about that. It's not about Paul Atreides being like a terrible evil guy, even though he's inspired by like people Frank Herbert hated. But that was really fun. I loved talking about that. I loved making that video. It did really well, and I'm just happy when you talk about something you're really passionate about and something you really enjoy and it does really well. There's like no better feeling, because obviously a lot of stuff on YouTube, you make it because it's your job, right? So you're passionate about it, you care, but you're looking for a video to make that week. With this one, I'm just like, I really want to make this video. And I'm going to make another one when I finish Chapter House. I don't know if I'm going to be done with the Dune books. Like, I'm liking the show, which is based on the prequel stuff by the guy's son, but I have started a little bit of Paul of Dune, which is the sequel to Dune, written by his son. Didn't love the way it was written. Let's transition there then from that's my favourite videos. Let's then talk about, not my favourite videos, let's talk about just personal achievements for the year. So 2024, yeah, pretty good year for me. And starting on Dune, I've been reading a lot more. So I usually just read non-fiction history books, and this is the first year in a long time that I have read a lot of fiction books. And the main goal of that is because I'm writing my own book, and I'm happy because I started writing a book in 2020, and I read the first chapter the other day, and I think it's good, and I think one day I'll go back to it and rewrite it, because I think I'm a better writer now. But I started my new book. I went away with my girlfriend to a place called Winchester in England. You might know that. I think is it Shaun of the Dead? Talks about Winchester and pubs and stuff. and we just like went to this place where we both did creative things. We did creative things like our creative projects, and I just wrote this book for 4 days. And at the same time, I'd read my favorite books. I'd read like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I'd read Man in the High Castle. I'd read some other books to just, you know, get my favorite style in my head. And then I wrote like 4 chapters, and annoyingly, I haven't had much time or energy to go back to it. But I'm really happy with what I wrote and what I established. I mean, I'm not going to spoil the book, but it's inspired, and I had the idea for it in 2021 after the stuff that was happening in Gaza then. And the kind of idea of it originally was just about these societies that have to exist, even though there's this terrible dynamic, like an apartheid state, whether that be like, you know, in apartheid South Africa or apartheid in Israel. And I'm just thinking about in my head, like, Palestinians go to Israel to work, right? And like, what is that like for people? And in the book, the premise is more, what if, you know, we have this replicant revolution, which is hinted at in things like Blade Runner 2049. What if the dynamic changes in a place like LA, where you have like humans who are like this underclass, replicants are like the top of this apartheid system, and what does that look like in this like future world, maybe like 60 years in the future from now? And also the 2 characters, my main characters, I really like the way I wrote them, but they're inspired by my girlfriend. Ordered like some delivery in Cambodia, and their version of Uber is like Grab, right? And we just ordered some, or she ordered some food, I think, not even me. And we went down to collect it, and it was a young woman, and I think she either had her daughter or her sister on the back. And I found that really interesting, and just a lot to do with Cambodia, like the role of women doing manual labor seemed to be like pretty more in terms of an urbanized context, not like in a rural context. It seemed to be more apparent to me, and I was just thinking about that. So my main 2 characters are inspired by those two women or girls on the delivery bike, and I just think I did a pretty good job, and I've done a lot. I think I just done a good job, and I hope I can finish it one day, and I hope people will actually read it. And I don't know how I'll feel after that, like taking criticism, or people not actually really caring, or people that I think I'm friends with not reading it, and you have always anxieties. But I'm proud of myself for doing it, because I just think I have good creative ideas, and I've got loads I want to write, but this is like the one I'm passionate about. And it's also inspired by things like just like general anti-colonial revolution. A lot of my views on Irish republicanism is going into that, like the successes and the massive failures of the Irish Revolution ultimately, and what happens after a revolution. And Ireland is a great example of what can happen after a revolution, where you have a united front descend into a civil war, and why does that happen? And yeah, I just think it's a good vehicle to explore a lot of my politics. And reading Dune has been helpful, like the Dune series, just for thinking about just like scale and thinking about religion and everything. So yeah, proud of myself for that. So that's my main one. Also, I got back into football like massively this year. I was like training with like what my friend's Sunday League team to start with, and then in August I was like, okay, I'm gonna go play Saturday League again. I'm gonna take this a bit more seriously. I originally played for the vets team for my old Saturday team, but then there was a game where the chairman said like, oh, come play for the seconds. Like, we need some players. And then I had such a good game, probably one of my best games ever. He just said, you know, you just play for us. Like, don't go back to the vets. Play for the twos. And I was like, okay, I'm a bit flattered. Like, okay, I'll play. It's been a bit harder, maybe a bit harder, like higher level than I wanted to play, just because, you know, older, getting injuries more. Like my back, I injured a couple months ago, and it still hasn't been right. But I'm proud of myself because it's my last year. I'm retiring. Like, I'm never going to play Sunday or Saturday League again after this year. I've decided, like, 5-a-side, whatever is fine. But yeah, this is my last year, so I'm going to enjoy it. And I've been playing like a lot of 5-a-side. I've just been playing a lot of football. And what's interesting is, someone who's played it since I was about 5 years old, like every single year, I feel like I'm at my best level now. But I think a lot of that to do is with my mental maturity, which is really weird because physically I'm not as fit as I was when I was like 23, 24. But mentally, like how comfortable I am in a team, how smart I am when I play is just so much better. So I think I'm actually the best now, even though physically, fitness-wise, I'm not the best. It's actually kind of interesting to actually grow up playing sport and recognize where you might be technically a little bit better because of your all-around like physical package where you mentally can just benefit you so much. So yeah, gonna play the next 6 months, and then that's it. But I'm proud of myself for doing it, because I don't know about you guys, when you get to like 29, 30, everyone I know just has given up their hobbies. Like, we gave up our five-a-side league football like a month ago because just couldn't get a team together anymore. It's like my friends from primary school and secondary school, and now it's just like, what, we don't even do anything like that together anymore. I'm just like, well, are they just never going to play football again? So I'm happy that, like, it's a big commitment. Mentally, it takes up a lot of my headspace because I get nervous before games, overthink things. There's politics involved, like football politics, not actual politics. But yeah, I'm proud of myself for doing that. So they're my two big ones for the year. I started the gaming podcast with Mike and David from the Humanist Report and Rational National. I mean, I'm really happy we started that. I wish we'd have more time to do it, because I did kind of want to do it more regularly. Let's see how that goes next year, because I do want to do it more. Yeah, overall, 2024 personally, like, yeah, pretty good year for me. I'm satisfied with like my creative output in terms of YouTube. I think it's my best videos I've ever made. Not all of them, of course, but yeah, some of my best ones. I'm happy with the book stuff. I'm happy I found time to read. I'm happy, I've had time to play football, and I've scaled back on things like video games because I'm more preoccupied with like in real life stuff. I also like, which is weird, when you get a bit older, when you're like socializing, sometimes you think back on the years and you're like, I barely saw my friends this year. It's a weird thing because life can kind of like get away from you when everyone gets so busy. But also in terms of that stuff, like especially summer, I saw my friends loads. Had like a lot of good times with them. Like, went to my first friend's wedding, like the first one to get married, stag do, just hung out with them a lot, played a lot of football with them, and it just felt good, because some days I'm just like, especially now, I'm like, I haven't seen them in a while because winter's just like that. But I'm like, no, I made the most of it, and while we're still young, people don't have children, we still kind of live near each other, and I'm going traveling for a couple of years next year. I'm just happy I've made the most of the year, and I don't have any regrets this year. Like, there's not really anything I'm thinking like, I wish I did that more. And also, cherry on top, we did a great fundraiser on this channel for Gaza, medical aid for Palestinians, and we raised like £12,000. So like, charity, I've done something good. Creatively, I've done something good. I have no complaints really this year. Like, to be honest, like I've had a good year. One of my better ones where I don't look back and be like, oh, I wish I did this. Because last year I was like, I wish I played I wish I played more football. And I wish I took my fitness more seriously. I wish I saw my friends more. I wish I started writing my book. But I've done all that. The one regret, maybe I didn't make as much time to write my book after the summer. But it's also going to take me so long, I'm just going to work at it for a long time. Yeah, that's it for the year. 2024 wrapped. And a good one. Terrible year for the world, though. Sometimes it's such a weird contrast to personally feel fulfilled, but mentally feel tired from politics that are so out of your control. And it's not like, I'm not talking about this in terms of like neoliberalism, identity. Some days I think you just have to focus on you and your immediate surroundings and just your relationships and just how you're going to get through life, because life is long. Politics are very beyond our control as individuals. I mean, do all the good things. Like I said, do your charity work, do your community building things, do all this stuff, but like also take time for yourself, because you have to survive as well, right? So if you just feel terrible about yourself and the world is terrible, it's not a good recipe for good mental health. So if you can, try and prioritize things that make you feel good. Try and prioritize those friendships. Play sports if you want to. Like, don't forsake your youth is one thing I'll say. Like, I'm young. I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm like, I can feel my body getting a bit more worn. I've played sport for 25 years. It's catching up with me a little bit now. And I'm just making the most of it now, because in 10 years' time, I won't be the same, and I probably won't have the motivation. So that's what I got to say. And yeah, I hope everyone has had a good holiday. Let's hope 2025 is better for the world. Will it be? No. that's what my logic is telling me. But yeah, I hope everyone, has a good start to the year. And I hope everyone is feeling okay. Like, I'm a massive doomer, so, if I can sometimes feel good, I hope everyone can, if circumstances allow. And yeah, as always, thanks to the patrons, thanks to all the support this year, and thanks to all the nice comments. And yeah, I hope you stick around for another year of fun and depressing content.